Welcome back to 10 Minutes with Kuhle, the only show where we don't sugarcoat South Africa's slow motion collapse. Today we're talking about the Employment Equity Act, or as I like to call it, how to fire the whites only act. Yes, you heard right. According to the Democratic Alliance, this little gem of legislation could boot 220,000 white South Africans out of jobs in Gauteng alone. Not 220, not 22,000, but 220,000. That's more than the entire population of some metros like Mangaung. But don't worry. Cyril and his comrades promise it's not quotas, it's targets. Right, and ESCOM doesn't have load shedding. It has planned rotational power cuts. So here's how it works. The Act says that from September 2025, as in now, every company with more than 50 employees has to align their workforce with the demographics of South Africa's so-called economically active population. In other words, if only 7.7% of the workforce nationally is white, that's roughly the ceiling of how many whites can have a job in your business. Sounds fair? Not quite. Here's the problem. Whites currently make up around 62% of managerial roles in certain sectors, especially in Gauteng, but in certain sectors in Gauteng, such as agriculture. Now, it's to remember that such sectors like agriculture are not the biggest, as well as, a sector like agriculture by nature is largely dominated by white South Africans. But here's where it gets crazy. And we all know why, white South Africans dominate these certain sectors because of things like merit, experience, and actual skills. But under the ANC's new racial engineering plan, that has to be cut down to about 4 to 8%, depending on the sector. Now, that means if you're white and in a skilled job, congratulations, you're officially a problem to be solved. And how do you solve that problem? Through retrenchments, hiring freezes, promotions. Promotions are blocked, to be more specific, and white graduates being told, sorry, you were born the wrong color. Try Australia or the USA, but don't worry. The ANC says it's not about discrimination. It's about, the beautiful words like transformation, which is kind of like saying it's not theft, it's wealth redistribution. Now, let's put some numbers on this. The DA calculated that in Gauteng alone, 220,000 whites could be pushed out of jobs. Add to that 85,000 coloreds and about 50,000 Indians. And suddenly you're looking at 355,000 non-blacks erased from Gauteng's economy. And that's just one province, not considering nationally. Solidarity's research estimates 70,000 white men could be targeted, and that's just the conservative figure. Now, the government says these are just targets, not quotas. But if you don't meet them, you face fines of up to 10% of your turnover. That's not a milestone. That's a financial gun to the head. So, of course, companies will comply. And by comply, I mean they'll quietly sideline whites, sideline coloreds, sideline Indians, and replace competence with cadres, because who cares if the company collapses, right? But hey, look on the bright side. At least when whites lose their jobs, they'll have more time to stand in home affairs queues, apply for visas, because now visas are being processed faster due to the new DA minister, as well as they could perhaps learn plumbing for when they get to Perth. I'm being sarcastic if you don't realize. And maybe that's the whole point. South Africa doesn't need a brain drain. It needs a brain flood out of the country. Who needs engineers, accountants, and doctors when you could have party loyalists with grade 9 certificates running the show? Worked great for ESCOM, after all, as well as all the other insolvent municipalities around the country. Here's the reality. BE and EEE Act are not about fairness. They're about punishment. They're about racial quotas dressed up in rainbow rhetoric. They're about the ANC keeping control by dividing people and destroying merit. And if you think this is only about whites, you're wrong. When you chase out skilled workers, everybody loses. Investment dries up, companies close, jobs disappear for all races, the poor suffer the most. But don't worry, don't take my word for it. Just look around. Unemployment is at 33%, youth unemployment is near 60%, and now we're going to fire another 220,000 people for the crime of being white. South Africa, where the government fights inequality by making sure everybody is equally unemployed. I'm Kuhle, and that's been your 10 minutes with Kuhle. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you do love the content that we shoot here at 10 Minutes with Kuhle, please do make sure to share, like, and subscribe. It really helps in sharing this message far and wide. We need to get those numbers up if we are to share the truth. Let's make it a mission that we share this with 5 friends, and those 5 friends share it with other 5 friends, and the pattern continues. That is how we'll share the truth. As well as if you'd like to support the work I do, you can buy me a coffee by sending me a super chat. This has been 10 Minutes with Kuhle. Thank you so much. A blessed Saturday ahead. Shabbat Shalom.
Should I invest in your country or shouldn't I? How would you answer that particular investor?
That you can go and invest in India.
So go somewhere else?
Yes.
Okay. So
No.
To an international investor, they contact you. They say, I am Mr. Big Shot from some country and I want to open a multi-billion-dollar factory in South Africa. I'm going to buy this land, which I've earmarked. I'm going to build a big factory, right? I'm going to employ thousands of people. But I need to know that nobody, not just you, but nobody could at some stage say, in the public interest, we might just want your big factory and your intellectual property. Can you guarantee me that you can't have it? Then he says, I'm going to bring in a lot of specialists, but I see that there's an employment equity tick box exercise, right, where I am being told who to hire, right? And I run companies all over the world, and nowhere am I told who I must hire. Should I invest in your country or shouldn't I? How would you answer that particular investor?
That you can go and invest in India.
So go somewhere else?
Yes.
Okay. So,
No.
Well, we can see why we've got a growth rate of 0.6%.
No.
Okay. I think that's the.
No.
You've joined Dada Moreira as the other honest politician, because at least you've answered the question honestly.
If you are coming and now I see you're bidding for Starlink by Elon Musk.
I am.
You are. That's. You know, that's the anecdote that you're utilizing is that of the Starlink issue with Elon Musk. Okay. I'm saying here that anyone who wants to come and invest in South Africa must abide by the South African Constitution and the laws of the country. Any self-respecting country does that. Okay. That's not unique to an ANC-led government of national unity. It's just what it is.
And therefore, by that same logic, we must just be happy with no growth, economic growth. Because that's how it's manifested.
We must have growth.
Where's it going to come from?
And specifically inclusive.
Where's it going to come from?
Inclusive economic growth.
Where's it going to come from?
It's going to come from infrastructure development. Read the entire budget.
We've read the
Mike,
budget.
You've not read. Let me pay.